what did you learn about Caitlin as a teammate that you didn't know?
She's just a big kid. You know what I mean? Like, she is so phenomenal and so elite at her craft.
Sticking up for my teammates. That's all part of it. I think all that stuff it's fun and whatnot, but at the end of the day, we need to win some basketball games.
One comment just cracked the WNBA's image wide open, and it came straight from Sophie Cunningham. For years, the WNBA has sold a public image of unity, collective progress, and shared sacrifice. But behind the branding and slogans, a much uglier reality has been simmering.
All right. Here is Clark, splashing home a three from way downtown. Some words with the Connecticut bench.
Sophie Cunningham did not invent that tension. She simply said the quiet part out loud at the worst possible time. As CBA negotiations hang in the balance and the league's momentum reaches its most fragile point, her words hit like a match thrown into a gas-filled room. This was not a rant. This was a warning.
On her way back.
Cunningham has always been known as a competitor, outspoken, physical, unapologetic, and allergic to fake politeness. That reputation matters here because when someone like her speaks, fans know it is not manufactured outrage. She is not chasing clicks. She is not auditioning for television. She is reacting to something she believes is actively harming the league she works in. And that belief centers on one explosive idea. Jealousy inside the WNBA is sabotaging progress at the worst possible moment. To understand why this matters, you have to understand Sophie Cunningham's position in the ecosystem.
20-point lead. Caitlin Clark with a few words with JC Sheldon, and
she is not a rookie chasing relevance, and she is not a fringe player begging for attention. She is a veteran who has lived through underpaid seasons, commercial flights, empty arenas, and years where no one outside the league pretended to care. She remembers what irrelevance feels like. That is why her frustration cuts deeper. From her perspective, the league finally has leverage, and instead of protecting it, some players appear determined to burn it down out of resentment. The heart of Cunningham's criticism is not Caitlin Clark herself, but how Clark's arrival exposed fault lines that were already there. Clark did not create inequality, she illuminated it. When millions of new fans tuned in, they did not come evenly distributed across the league. They followed a star. That reality made some players uncomfortable because it challenged the long-held belief that collective branding alone could lift everyone equally. Sophie Cunningham's message, whether people liked it or not, was brutally simple. Stars matter, and pretending otherwise is costing everyone money.
20-point lead. Caitlin Clark with a few words with JC Sheldon, and
this is where the CBA negotiations become combustible. Negotiations require leverage, optics, and timing, and the WNBA finally had all three aligned. Attendance surged, ratings spiked, sponsors showed interest, casual fans started caring. According to Cunningham's perspective, that was the moment to stabilize, secure long-term growth, and protect the product. Instead, the public narrative shifted toward entitlement, internal conflict, and public complaints that alienated the very audience the league just attracted. What makes her comments so controversial is that they challenge a sacred rule in women's sports discourse. You are not supposed to criticize your own side publicly. You are supposed to smile, stay unified, and keep disagreements internal. Cunningham broke that rule, and in doing so, she forced an uncomfortable conversation into the open. Are some players prioritizing ego over growth? Are personal grievances being weaponized at the negotiating table? And most dangerously, is the league misreading how fragile casual fan attention really is?
Just trying to keep a level head on everyone, but I also think that we get to play basketball for a living, and that's super fun. So sometimes you just need a good perspective of like, hey, we're in the grind right now and it feels hard, but at the end of the day, we get to dribble a ball for a living, so we got to be grateful for that.
Cunningham's frustration also connects directly to how Caitlin Clark has been treated on the court. Hard fouls happen in basketball, but patterns matter. When physicality crosses into targeted hostility, fans notice. When that hostility is met with silence or applause instead of discipline, fans draw conclusions. Cunningham's implied argument is that protecting stars is not favoritism, it is basic business sense. You do not haze the person bringing new money into the room, you build around them.
empty offensive possessions. We were sloppy defensively. They just outworked us, and that is something that we don't want that in our DNA. And so I think you're going to see some spunk from us. Today was a little quiet, but I think we were just dialed in.
The jealousy angle makes people uncomfortable, but pretending it does not exist does not make it disappear. The WNBA is full of elite athletes who have worked just as hard as Clark without receiving a fraction of her attention. That emotional imbalance does not vanish simply because the league promotes unity. It festers. Cunningham's comments suggest that instead of channeling that attention into leverage for everyone, some players are trying to humble the moment itself. This is where the sabotage accusation becomes so damaging. Sabotage does not mean a coordinated conspiracy. It means behavior that undermines shared goals, even if unintentionally. Publicly downplaying the league's progress, dismissing new fans as ignorant, framing improved salaries as insults rather than stepping stones. All of that sends a message to casual viewers that this league is not grateful for its moment. Cunningham understands something critical about modern sports audiences. They do not want lectures, they want excitement, they want heroes, and they want a reason to stay. Caitlin Clark became that reason for millions of people. That does not make her more deserving as a human being, but it makes her more valuable as an asset. Cunningham's stance is that refusing to acknowledge that reality does not make the league fairer, it makes it poorer. The league is not negotiating in a vacuum, it is negotiating in public, and public perception shapes outcomes whether people like it or not. Another layer to this tension is generational. Younger players grew up in an era of NIL deals, social media branding, and individual leverage. Older players grew up grinding for exposure that never came. When those two mindsets collide, misunderstandings turn into resentment. Cunningham sits at an intersection where she can see both sides, and her patience for denial appears to be gone. What makes this moment feel especially reckless is the external pressure mounting around the league. Alternative leagues, off-season ventures, foreign-backed exhibitions, none of those become credible threats unless the main product looks unstable. Cunningham's comments imply that instability is being created internally, not imposed from the outside. That is the part that scares executives and excites critics. Self-inflicted wounds are the hardest to explain away. The Caitlin Clark factor magnifies everything. Her silence during these debates has been interpreted in 1,000 different ways, and Cunningham's remarks add fuel to that speculation. When a star stays quiet, fans project. When teammates speak loudly, fans assume fractures. Even if none of it is intentional, perception becomes reality in a media-driven league. Cunningham seems painfully aware of this dynamic, which is why her criticism focuses less on personalities and more on consequences. One of the most shocking implications of her stance is the idea that the league could fumble its best bargaining position in decades. Negotiations are about maximizing leverage, not airing grievances. When players publicly attack the system while benefiting from its newfound visibility, it creates cognitive dissonance for fans. Cunningham is essentially saying that you cannot simultaneously demand growth and reject the mechanisms that produce it. There is also a deeper cultural tension at play. Women's basketball has long positioned itself as morally superior to men's sports. More team-oriented, less selfish, more principled. Cunningham's comments challenge that mythology. She suggests that ego, jealousy, and power struggles exist here too, and pretending otherwise only makes them more destructive. That honesty is uncomfortable, but it may be necessary. Critics accuse Cunningham of siding with management, but that accusation oversimplifies her point. Her frustration is not about defending owners, it is about defending momentum. Momentum is rare, momentum is fragile, and momentum does not care about fairness debates. It responds to excitement, stability, and stars. Lose it, and it does not come back on demand. Perhaps the most shocking element of all is how predictable this outcome feels in hindsight. A league starved for attention finally gets it, only to turn inward and fight over credit instead of building infrastructure. Cunningham's voice stands out because it cuts through the noise and says what fans are already thinking but are afraid to articulate. If this moment collapses, it will not be because the league lacked talent, it will be because it lacked alignment. So do you think the WNBA is protecting its biggest moment or accidentally pushing it away? Let us know your views in the comments below.